Everybody, today we're going to be talking about the Diadem Elevate V3 and the V2. The V3 has this really nice, pretty blue iridescent color to it, especially around the hoop. They're really liking this colorway. The V2 has this tealish blue to it. Definitely not a bad color, but this one I think takes the cake for the new update. So what do I like about the V3? The V3 is more forgiving, more flex, more power, more spin. Now, obviously there's going to be a con there. The only thing that I can say about the V3 is you definitely feel that you lose a little bit of control because it's so flexy. And that's where the V2 I think exceeded in, because it had that a little bit of stiffness. And I know with the V3 they added Crybond, but the V2 with its slightly stiffer frame, you definitely feel that you can paint your lines a little bit better. So where does this racket fit in compared to, let's say, like a Blade V7, like this racket right here? With the V3, the Elevate V3, I would say it's a good 3.5 to 4.0 racket in my opinion. It's definitely forgiving around off-center hits. It's great for serves, good for forehands, good for backhands. Slices, I think it does lack a little bit of control, just because the balls, for me at least anyway, it felt like it wanted to pop off of it. And that's obviously strained with the Diadem Solstice Black on both of them. I did feel that the balls, they tended to bounce off the racket a little bit more, and I think it's just because of that flex as you're contacting the ball. As for, let's say, volleys, I think this racket, it's going to be you're going to like it or you're not, for the most part, just because with the flex of this racket, when you're contacting your balls at net, it can be a little bit crazy. Now it does absorb a lot of the impact, especially if you're getting beamed at from the baseline, but it does make it an interesting racket at net. I will say that. With the forgiveness, you do get a lot of lucky shots, I want to say, at least in my opinion, compared to the V2. But the V2, I felt like it was almost like a point and shoot, especially at net. You just have to be able to direct it where you want it, right? So I think that's probably one of the negatives with this racket, is probably the net play. And I'm not even a great net player, to be honest, but that's what I felt with this racket. For serves, you definitely feel the extra oomph you get out of the string bed. I felt that I had a little bit more pace on my shot, as well as a little bit more spin. Balls tended to land in a lot more, I think, within probably like that much of an margin. And I think that just has to do with the ability for the racket to flex a little bit and bite into the string bed a little bit more. Let's see, what else can we talk about? How does it compare to the V7? So with the V7, if you play with the Wilson blade before, you definitely feel that weight around the you're probably at the very tip of the racket. It carries it very well. It feels almost like a hammer, right? And the flex point is, it feels very, very I wouldn't say flexy, but there is a flex to this. With the Elevate V3, you feel the entire flex throughout the entire racket, right? From here to here. You feel it especially flexing around the throat area. Now, who do I recommend this racket for? If you're a 3.5 to 4.0 player, you're probably gonna like this racket. You get a lot of free power, you get a lot of free spin out of it. It's very forgiving. It's not like a crazy 105 square inch, 110 square inch racket, but if you're trying to dial in your shot a little bit, I think the V3 is a great racket to upgrade to. the Wilson Blade V7 is also a really great racket to upgrade to, and you can definitely play at a high level with this racket. And I think, overall, the V2 versus V3, which one do I like more? It's obviously going to be up to personal taste. With the V2, I felt that I had more control with it. I could paint the lines with it. Definitely a stiffer racket, but overall, you're sacrificing, a little bit of power, a little bit of spin for that kind of control. And as for pop, I would say this gives a little bit more pop than this one. I do feel that there is a little bit of a muted feeling with the V3 compared to the V2. That sounds a little bit weird, saying this, the V3 has more pop, but, more muted, but that's just how I felt. And overall, both of these rackets are really great. I can't really find too much of anything that I hate about it. Some people would probably say that it needs, at least for the V3, I think it needs a little bit of weight around the 2 and 10, and that's why I added some weight there, just to help with, especially the heavier servers where you need to just block it off, because that flex can actually hurt you sometimes, where it's like it's hard to control where you want it to go if it's just bending in your hand, right? So yeah, so that was a quick review of the Diadem Elevate V2 and V3, and sort of a mini one on the Wilson Blade V7. But yeah, hope you guys liked the review. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All right, peace.